Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about practice building and why people get stuck. Several people asked me to do this, and up until, I don't know, I'd have to look. Uh, so when I closed my last offices, I had three at one point, Port Charlotte, Naples, and Venice. Uh, I did a lot of practice building with people. Hypnosis and coaching. That's even before coaching was the current rage. So I would bring people in and walk them through. And I just got away from it. I've been doing other stuff, some of you know. Um, but because several people in my little world of influence, hey, Bob, several people in my world of influence have asked about it. So I said, you know what, let's back up. Let's back up. I'm going to give you a couple things. A way to look at it if you want to build a practice, if you will, coaching practice, NLP, hypnosis, whatever, therapy, it's all the same, right? Even business consulting, if you will. Because, we're seeing an awful lot of people that say they'll help you build your practice, especially with social media. And if you do a little bit of research, you find out they don't really have, there's some out there that do good, but there's some that's like, have they ever really done this? And then it drives me crazy, right? And not that they can't teach you good business techniques or business things. I mean, some of the fundamentals may be true, but each little thing is different. So I was looking at a couple of them, and I've taken a lot of those classes, right, just to see what's being offered and that. And usually, we see people what they do. Oh, it's not recording. Oh, it is recording. Good. They get you on a discovery call. I hate that term, right? Why don't they just call it what it is, a pitch, right? Discovery call, which basically means I'll discover how much your visa can hold. Tough crowd. I would just call them consultations because it's not, I'm just going to ask, just like I do if you came to see me as a private client, I get an intake. It's like and it's that way. So rather than discovery call, someone asked me, what do I do different than some of the other people? And I always back up. And let's say someone wants to start a practice, whether it's coaching practice, NLP practice, hypnosis practice. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Reed. Hey, David. You got to back up, right? Some of these people, they put out the big pitch. I just had a talk with somebody and I got them laughing when I said, get this bullshit out of your head. You're going to build $1 million funnel overnight. And somebody say it can be done. It's like I heard a guy say once, I'll show you how to make $1 million. I'll guarantee you'll make $1 million. First of all, give me $2 million. And then I'll put like 500,000 in advertising. You'll probably break even. So you made your $1 million, right? But so I said, like, what's a realistic number? I said, if you're going to do this, you have to start with a couple things: desires, fears, frustrations, and things your brain can actually understand. Those know me a little bit goes that my big thing lately is neurology, how your neurology works, right? And your prefrontal cortex can understand like whatever an abstract number. But does your inner brain, does your midbrain and deep brain understand that abstract number, right? That's why usually you see people, even businesses, sometimes they'll grow and they'll get to this level. And once they're at this level, they can get to this level. Then they can get to this level. Everyone, and throw out the one-off of they go from this to this. Thing I could use, it's a good example, is ClickFunnels, whether you like that thing or not. It's how he got started, because I should have stayed in it, but I jumped in when it was new. Was that 2016, 17, right? And we literally watched him grow from nothing to, I think he's closing in on $1 billion a year, $1 billion industry, right? But how do you do that, right? So you got to have a real number. So this person I was talking to, a couple people, was like, okay, what's the most money you ever made in your life at anything? I don't care what it is, whether it's selling cars, selling diamonds, holding up liquor stores, whatever. Tough crowd. Whatever it was that your top flight, that's a number your brain probably understands, especially if you did it more than once, not to just one off, right? But yeah, pretty consistently, I had, whether it's in this business or any business, I was making 100 grand a year, 150 grand a year. Your brain knows that's real. You did it. It's achievable, right? So first you got to get a realistic number to start to look at, right? And then you can build on it. But then what you have to do, and what I always do with people, is I always ask a few questions. I had to go find them. I can send this to anybody if they want them. And these are generally like the desires I see that people that want to start a practice, coaching, hypnosis, NLP, right? And in no particular order. Let's say it's you. What's your desires? Why do you want to do this, right? So if you're looking on Facebook or Instagram and you see somebody talking about it, what's driving you to even look at those ads, right? A lot of them out there now, they're all focused on and it's changed a little bit, but they're focused on financial independence. And a couple of years ago, it was all about the laptop lifestyle. The laptop, I love that term, laptop. No, he shows a guy sitting on a beach. It's like, when the hell do you work? Anyway, but the guy made that the one I always laugh at. It's a good book though. 4 Hour Work Week. 4 Hour Work Week. Great book. But if you ever hear that guy he'll admit he works between 70 and 80 hours a week. But it's a good hook, which will come into practice building. So maybe you want, if it's financial independence, again, you need a real number. Maybe it's just financial stability. First, get to that before you try to go to that. So here are the top ones. A lot we see is the financial independence. But in our world, the people that I end up associating with the most is people that really want to make a difference in people's lives. Right? I want to make a living, maybe get some financial stability, but probably my real desire would be to have a meaningful impact on other people, on my clients, on my students, whatever it is, right? Some people, the thing is about building work-life balance. They want to help people, they want to have a practice. They don't want to become a workaholic, right? So they want work-life balance, or they don't want to have to work a 40, 50-hour a week regular job and then build their practice evenings, weekends, whatever it is. So maybe they want work-life balance. Maybe they want to have a bigger online presence. Now, it used to just be a bigger presence in your community. I go back to actually goes back to the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. You built a presence in your community, whether it was Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, or wherever when I was in Indiana, Maryville, south side of Chicago. So, but you want to build a presence, so you become kind of the experts. You hear a lot of people talking about that. Our friend in the NGH, who's no longer with us, wrote a book called The Obvious Expert, right? Maybe you want freedom for work. I mean, to work when you want, where you want, and this one's grown in importance in the last couple of years. Once COVID hit, it's been 4 years now. It's hard to think that, but when everything shut down, we're seeing it ripple through the world, where they say people don't want to work, but actually what it was is a lot of people had the chance to re-examine their lives and say, what's important to me? What's important to me? Do I want to work 80 hours a week? For somebody that obviously they just laid me off for 3 months. Now they want us to come back, whatever it is, right? So we want that work-life balance, right? And and maybe you want to do it with professional growth, maybe you want to build a community. A lot of these begin to interact, right? So maybe it's just to attract clients. Maybe it's, again, make a difference, financial independence, build a reputation, work-life balance. Maybe you're doing it for professional or personal growth, to develop a presence or an expertise to the outside world, freedom of time to work independently, or building a community. And this is what when people call me to come do a practice builder, I'd say, well, I want you to get those answers in your head, first of all, because how you're going to build what you want to do will depend on what your desire is. To use a coaching metaphor, it's like someone comes to me for weight loss. When I was running the weight loss, big part of my business, I wanted to know why they wanted to lose weight. As Bruce put up there, what's in it for me? And how will I know when I have it? Right? And if it's like, a certain scale, weight on the scale, maybe they drop 20 pounds, get muscled up and look great, but they'd never be happy, right? Because they didn't really hammer down into what is their desire. What was that? Which will leave you then like to get an outcome that you can measure. There's a lot of people say if you can't measure it, you can't manipulate it, you can't change it, and you got no goal to shoot at, right? You're in rifle training, you got to have a target, right? So anyway, so what's your top desire, right? And again, clients, independence, make a difference, reputation, work-life balance, personal and professional growth, stability, to develop a presence and an expertise, freedom to work independently, which is becoming very good for what we do with Zoom, like we're here, right? Building a community. What is that? Because then the other two things that come up, you have your desires, you have your fears. And so what stops you from going to your desires? It's two things, fears and frustration, right? And these are just general. First one, of course, a lot of people say fear of failure. People don't want to get started because they're afraid they're going to fail. But on the flip side of that is fear of success. It's like, well, if I build it, will I be able to maintain it? It's like the guy I worked with who's writing a book. And he had it pretty much done. It was pretty much done. Of course, I'm the type, hey, just publish the damn thing on Amazon. Get it out there. Let's see what happens. I need to get it edited. I need to do this. He was like, all of this other stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, well, we could Fiverr, Upwork, all those come. You can get an editor, pretty reasonable, that would edit your work, right? And when we started talking, his big fear it was fear of failure. He said maybe fear, what if the book doesn't sell? I go, it's irrelevant. You'll have a book. But his real fear was if it's good and people like it, I don't know if I can write another one. And it's like, what's the analogy? Cart before the horse. It's a great example. It's like you're worried about the second book, you haven't finished the first book, right? So maybe it's fear of failure, fear of success. Maybe that's holding you back. And again, depending on what those desires are, you'll see again how these kind of interact. And then especially with what we're doing or becoming an entrepreneur, financial insecurity, especially we're still kind of brought up in a 9-to-5 world where you work for whatever corporation or you get paid every, 2 weeks, every Friday, whatever it is. So you have to get comfortable with that. That's beginning to change. A lot of people have fear of competition. There's so many people doing what I want to do. You want to do weight loss, right? I need to find a different market, right? Well, if you could find, it's what they call a blue water market, that's great. And you can create a market. My evidence for that is this thing, a couple people here might relate to this. There's a commercial that they call Shave Club for Men. They'll ship a razor to your house because we all know how hard it is to buy a razor. And the first time I heard it, I went, I don't know. I go to Walmart, I go to Walgreens, I go to Publix. The gas stations have, but he created the need because he had enough venture capital to keep doing the ads. And then he kind of tweaked it into, You ever run out of a razor? Which that one makes more sense. You know, that now you need a razor and you know, whatever it was. So we think there's going to be competition. You know, I just talked to somebody about this weight loss. I go, I don't want to get into weight loss. Everybody's in weight loss. I go, you know why everybody's in weight loss? Because you can make money in weight loss. And it's gonna, and you can tweak it. In fact, they ended up, I watched someone do a pitch Facebook thing. It was in, I don't know if it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. I don't know. I've kind of bounced around. But they were talking about helping people lose weight who are on one of those new drugs, the two big drugs that are out there. And they go, it's working. Great. What are you going to do if you ever stop? Let me show you why you ate too much. Let me show you how you know, what led to the weight loss problem. Yes, whatever that thing, I can't think of the name of the drug, but one of those drugs, it will kill your appetite. But are you going to be, unless you're diabetic, your doctor probably doesn't want you on that drug for the rest of your life. Well, a pharmaceutical company wants you on that drug for the rest of your life. That's a different thing, you know. But so I watched that and I go, that's a very smart thing, right? And then he just pointed out some of the well-known side effects of this drug. It'll get you to lose weight. You're going to have runny stools. You'll be impotent. You'll, you know, you get memory loss. It's like, you know, sign me up. I'll be skinny, impotent, and won't know where I'm going, you know. Then you can move right to the villages. Tough crowd. Why? Bruce likes that. We live down here, right? Anyway, so maybe it's fear of competition, right? Where you have to just, you know, doesn't matter, right? And again, I know my friend Bruce has said this too. It's like when you find an industry that people are doing, it's probably because there's money to be made there. Okay. So fear of rejection. What if I put it out there and nobody likes it? You know, you take it personally. If I've learned one thing from my other career, which is acting, is you can't take it personal. You know, it's not really rejection, right? You reframe it however you need. That I've worked with people with that, right? Maybe it's you feel like you're an imposter. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I want to do this. You know, this is true, especially in coaching, NLP, hypnosis, because it worked for me. I don't know if I can really help other people. So you feel like an imposter until you've done it enough to become comfortable with it. But a big one we get is fear of marketing. You know, you feel like you're promoting yourself, right? And how do you stand out? How do you market? How do you begin to do this, right? Fear of change. It'll change something. And another one that I see more and more for my world, which is fear of technology. I mean, I just saw somebody was complaining. They don't know if they could do whatever it was, some class, when the person was pitching something. And it was technology based. And people in the comments mentioned, you know, I'm in my late 40s. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know, there's one guy in there that started in his 70s and he wasn't tech oriented. Forget what he was, a blue collar worker. I mean, you know, got into it, learned it. It's like, but you have the fear of technology, right? Whether it's social media, building a website, all this other stuff. So you have your desires, which tie into your fears, which ties into your frustrations, right? And this goes, usually this is where you get into the nuts and bolts of practice building. But a lot of the coaches I notice jump right to that level. They want to help you with this part, like client acquisition, marketing challenges, you know, help you with your pricing and your time management. But unless you've honed in on why do you want to do this? What's your desire? What are you going for? Is it a realistic thing that you want to go for? Can you do it, right? Based on your past, based on where you want to go. And then, you know, what are those fears that are holding you back? And in our world, a lot of times it's imposter syndrome, not being good enough. You know, there's a lot of research on that lately. And then it goes into your frustrations. Can you acquire clients? Can you handle the marketing challenges, which friend of mine took it was University of Florida. Part of it was at the university in Gainesville, and then part of it was online. He spent a lot of money. I think it was damn near $10,000. It was like a certificate in social media marketing, internet and social media marketing. And I asked him, did you like it? He goes, oh, I got a lot of good information. He goes, and the best part was the last week when they said, now everything we've taught you in these 16 weeks will be obsolete by the end of the year. And they kept, and he goes, then they kept stressing this, but you still have to, you can't worry about where it's going to go. You got to get on where you're at. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, right? And again, the other big frustration is you've tried certain things in the past and it hasn't worked, right? And again, simplest analogy always is, thank God babies don't feel that way about walking. They fell, oh my God, they fell 3 times. I'm stopping. No. And they end up at Walmart in an electric bus. Sorry, that was an electric buggy driving. Tough crowd. Anyway, so that's it. So that's how I start. So if you're trying to do it, I'm not even going to pitch anything. First, figure out what your desire is. Why do you want to do it? What's a realistic number to start with, so your midbrain can understand it, right? And then, what would it do for you? And then go into, okay, what are your fears and frustrations? And you begin to knock off the fears and frustrations, right? And sometimes the fears and frustrations caused by the conflict, I think, between we would, in the coaching, we'd say subconscious, conscious mind. It's actually your deeper mind and your prefrontal cortex, right? And so once those begin to go, it's like, and the other thing I always stress, a friend of mine used to teach this, which like he had a big, he used to do practice building in the 90s. And he would show you, his pitch was, I'll show you how to make executive level income. Guaranteed, with one caveat, but I guarantee it. And if you got involved, what's the caveat? You got to be willing to work executive level hours. And he'd have people sign because they're like, well, you're going to show me. He goes, yeah. And you're thinking you're going to work 2 hours a day, and not the CEOs, not the Elon Musk who show up for board meetings. When you get to, and Reed's been there, and Bob and Bruce, if you're in that, and David and Michelle, if you're a manager, if you're in that executive level, how many hours are you working? Minimum 40, probably closer to 60, I would say, right? So if you're willing to put those hours in, and I told the person I was talking to the other day, well, you got to be, once we get rolling, you're going to be doing, at least 1 hour a day of social media marketing, putting up videos. And videos work better than, this is for someone on our call, videos work better than those pretty little picture things, right? Videos work better, right? And videos without filters work better. That's just what the ClickFunnels people are saying, right? So let you know you're human. So anyway, that's just my thing on practice building. Find your desires, find what you want to do, right? Why you want to do it. Then it'll give you your fears and your frustrations, and you begin to knock those off. And then you can begin to, which will also help you if you do look for people to help you build a practice. You've got a different mindset going in. So that's I always do a little bit of talk. So that's my little talk on, practice building, desires, frustrations, and fears. And you can do that on your own. And sometimes just doing that, it's like doing, information gathering, as we call it in NLP, where you go, what do you want? What would that do for you? What else would that do for you? How will you know when you have it? What's the first step to get there? How will this affect other people in your lives? It's kind of like just taking that format into your business, right? And a lot of us, when you first, depending on where you come from, the biggest pushback comes from friends and family. You're going to do what? You're going to do what? You could work for U.S. Steel. That's where I grew up. You could work for U.S. Steel or Amoco or Ford. So anyway, so that's my thing. If you have any questions or you want this little, I can ship you the list. But it's a way to think about building your business. So if you have more questions, go to hortonpsychology.com. Just reach out and we'll be talking soon.